For 20 million years, one predator ruled every ocean on Earth without challenge. Then, without warning, it vanished completely. This is Megalodon, the largest shark that ever lived. A predator so massive it makes today's great white shark look like a minnow beside it. For over 20 million years, its teeth have been found in ocean sediment on every continent except Antarctica. Then, about 3.6 million years ago, the fossil record goes silent. How big did it actually get? How did it hunt animals far larger than itself? And why did the ocean's most dominant predator disappear forever? This is the true story of Megalodon, pieced together not from a single skeleton, but from fossil teeth, a few rare vertebrae, and the bite marks it left behind on its prey. No complete Megalodon skeleton has ever been found. Everything we know had to be reconstructed like a puzzle, with most of the pieces missing. Long before science understood what they were, people walking ancient coastlines found huge triangular stones washed up on the beach. Many cultures believed these giant triangular stones were the petrified tongues of dragons or serpents coiled beneath the earth. They called them tongue stones, glossopteri. It wasn't until 1667 that Danish scientist Nicolas Steno dissected a shark's head and compared its teeth to these tongue stones and realized they were identical. Steno's discovery proved these strange stones were fossils, the teeth of an enormous, long-extinct shark. It was a breakthrough for the young science of paleontology. Scientists eventually gave the creature a name, Carcharockles megalodon. In Greek, it simply means giant tooth. Today, most paleontologists classify it as Otodus megalodon, part of an ancient lineage of megatoothed sharks stretching back more than 60 million years. In 1909, the American Museum of Natural History built a giant reconstructed jaw from megalodon teeth, a display so massive that 6 adults could stand inside it. That jaw became iconic, but it was also built using flawed assumptions about tooth spacing, and it overestimated the shark's true size for decades. So how big was Megalodon, really? Its fossil teeth alone can measure over 18 centimeters, more than 7 inches, the largest shark teeth ever found. Early scientists scaled these teeth directly against great white shark proportions and guessed at lengths of 30 meters or more. But that method was deeply flawed. Modern researchers use more complete tooth sets and a rare fossilized vertebral column found in Belgium to build far more reliable growth models. The current best estimate: an adult megalodon likely reached around 15 to 20 meters long, still nearly 3 times the length of a great white shark. It likely weighed somewhere between 50 and 70 tons, heavier than a loaded semi-truck, propelled by pure muscle through open water. Its jaws could open wide enough that an adult human could stand upright inside them, surrounded on all sides by teeth the size of hunting knives. Researchers estimate its bite force may have reached nearly 40,000 pounds per square inch, likely the most powerful bite of any predator in Earth's history. But like all sharks, Megalodon's skeleton was made of cartilage, not bone. Cartilage rarely fossilizes, which is exactly why no complete skeleton has ever survived. That single fact is the biggest limitation on everything we know. We are reconstructing an entire animal almost entirely from its teeth. Its body shape is inferred by comparing it to modern relatives like the great white shark and mako shark, but the exact proportions remain debated. Some researchers argue for a bulkier, more robust build. Others argue for a leaner, more torpedo-shaped body built for efficient long-distance swimming. Like modern great whites, Megalodon may have practiced regional endothermy, keeping parts of its body warmer than the surrounding water for powerful, sustained swimming. That warm-blooded advantage may have let it hunt in cooler waters, where competing predators simply couldn't keep up. Growth rings inside its fossilized vertebrae work much like tree rings, letting scientists estimate how fast it grew and roughly how long it lived. In 2021, researchers discovered fossil evidence of Megalodon nursery grounds in what is now Panama, shallow, warm coastal waters where juveniles could grow safely. Nurseries like this mattered because even young megalodons faced danger, including, quite possibly, larger members of their own species. Like many modern sharks, Megalodon likely gave birth to live young rather than laying eggs, with pups already over 2 meters long at birth. Megalodon fossils have been found on nearly every continent, from the coasts of the Americas to Europe, Africa, Japan, and Australia. It preferred warm, coastal waters, but its range stretched across open oceans wherever prey and temperature allowed. Peru's Pisco Desert has become one of the richest fossil sites on Earth, preserving whale bones, seals, and megalodon teeth side by side in ancient seabed rock. In California, a single site called Sharktooth Hill contains an astonishing bone bed, with thousands of fossil shark teeth packed into one layer of rock. These massive fossil deposits tell us Megalodon wasn't a rare oddity. For millions of years, it was one of the most successful predators the ocean had ever produced. As an apex predator, Megalodon sat at the very top of the ocean food chain, with no natural predators of its own once fully grown. Its primary diet was marine mammals, whales, dolphins, and seals, animals rich enough in fat and energy to fuel its enormous body. We know this not from guesswork, but from direct evidence. Fossilized whale bones bearing deep, unmistakable megalodon bite marks. By studying the pattern of these bite marks, paleontologists reconstructed Megalodon's hunting strategy, and it was surprisingly calculated. Rather than attacking the head like modern great whites do with seals, Megalodon often targeted flippers and tails first, crippling its prey before finishing the kill. This strategy, disable first, then kill, closely resembles how modern orcas hunt large whales today. Some fossil bones even show signs of being crushed or punctured completely through, proof of just how much force Megalodon could deliver in a single bite. During the Miocene, whales were generally smaller and more diverse than they are today, making them ideal, manageable prey for a predator this size. But over millions of years, some whale lineages evolved toward enormous size, and some scientists believe predator pressure from Megalodon may have driven part of that change. Megalodon's menu wasn't limited to whales. It also hunted large fish, other sharks, and even sea turtles. Fossilized turtle shells bearing bite marks confirm turtles were sometimes on the menu too, though their hard shells made them a tougher meal. Feeding a body this size wasn't easy. A single adult megalodon likely needed to eat massive quantities of meat regularly just to survive. That single fact, the sheer amount of food an adult megalodon needed, would later become one of the biggest reasons for its downfall. As an apex predator, Megalodon didn't just eat. It shaped the entire ecosystem around it, keeping populations of marine mammals in balance. Remove an apex predator like this from an ecosystem, and everything beneath it can shift dramatically, a lesson modern ocean conservation still grapples with today. But around 5 to 3 million years ago, the world itself began to change. Global temperatures started cooling, and ice began forming at the poles. As sea levels dropped, the warm, shallow coastal habitats Megalodon depended on for nurseries began shrinking and disappearing. Marine mammal diversity collapsed dramatically during this period. Many of the whale and seal species Megalodon relied on for food simply vanished. At the very same time, two new competitors were rising: orcas and great white sharks, both diversifying rapidly across the same waters. Orcas hunted in coordinated social pods, using teamwork and intelligence to bring down prey, a strategy a solitary megalodon simply couldn't match. Great white sharks, meanwhile, were smaller and needed far less food to survive, letting them thrive even as prey grew scarce. Megalodon's greatest strength, its enormous size, had become a liability. A body that large simply couldn't survive on a shrinking, unpredictable food supply. This wasn't a single dramatic battle or catastrophe. It was a slow, compounding squeeze: climate change, habitat loss, and competition all at once. Over hundreds of thousands of years, megalodon populations declined, not overnight, but generation by generation. And then the fossil record simply stops. No more teeth, no more bite marks, no more evidence of Megalodon anywhere on Earth. For decades, scientists believed Megalodon went extinct around 2.6 million years ago. But that estimate turned out to be based on unreliable fossil records. In 2019, a comprehensive statistical review by paleontologist Catalina Pimiento and colleagues revised that estimate, pushing the true extinction date back to roughly 3.6 million years ago. That's over 1 million years earlier than previously believed, meaning Megalodon disappeared long before many textbooks once claimed. This extinction wasn't isolated. It coincided with a major marine turnover event when roughly a third of the world's large ocean species disappeared. There was no single asteroid, no single catastrophe. Just a planet quietly transforming beneath the waves until the old order could no longer survive. By the time Megalodon vanished, the oceans had already begun to look much more like the ones we know today. Despite all this evidence, a persistent myth refuses to die: that Megalodon might still be alive somewhere in the deep ocean today. That idea was fueled in part by a controversial television documentary that presented fictional dramatization as if it were real scientific evidence. But the science tells a very different story. A predator this size would leave enormous, unmistakable evidence if it still existed. Sharks constantly shed teeth throughout their lives, thousands over a lifetime. A living Megalodon population would be scattering fresh, unfossilized teeth across ocean floors constantly. None have ever been found. No fresh Megalodon teeth. No unexplained bite marks on modern whales. No carcasses. No sonar evidence after decades of deep-sea exploration. The myth is fun to imagine, but the science is clear. Megalodon's extinction is one of the best documented events in the fossil record. Megalodon's story teaches us something important. Even the most dominant species on Earth is never truly safe from environmental change. Apex predators are often the first to suffer when ecosystems shift, because their enormous size demands so much energy and food to sustain. Today, modern sharks, including great whites, face strikingly similar pressures: overfishing, warming oceans, and shrinking prey populations. Understanding why Megalodon vanished isn't just ancient history. It's a warning about what can happen when ocean ecosystems change too quickly. New fossil discoveries continue to refine our picture of Megalodon. Each new tooth, each new vertebra, adds another piece to an unfinished puzzle. Some recent studies even challenge the classic great white-style body shape, suggesting a leaner, more mako-like build built for efficient long-distance cruising. Sharks constantly shed and regrow teeth throughout their lives. A single Megalodon may have gone through as many as 40,000 teeth over its lifetime. That single fact explains why fossil teeth are so common today, even though a complete Megalodon skeleton has never once been found. Today, shark-tooth hunters still comb riverbeds and beaches in places like North Carolina, searching for Megalodon teeth that wash out of ancient rock layers. The largest confirmed Megalodon tooth ever recorded measures over 18 centimeters along its diagonal length, a prized find for collectors and museums alike. In 2022, a study analyzing zinc isotopes in fossil teeth placed Megalodon and the early great white shark at the very same level in the ocean food chain. That meant the two predators weren't just coexisting, they were likely competing directly for the very same prey. This direct competition, layered on top of a shrinking food supply, may have been one of the final decisive pressures Megalodon couldn't overcome. Fossil sites in Australia have added even more detail, revealing Megalodon shared its waters with other giant marine reptiles and early cetaceans. Museum exhibits today use full-scale models built from these combined fossil clues, letting visitors walk beneath a life-sized Megalodon for the first time. Every new fossil find, every new isotope study, adds one more careful brushstroke to a picture that started with nothing more than a few strange teeth on a beach. The debate over its exact size, shape, and behavior is still very much alive among paleontologists today. What remains certain is this: for 20 million years, nothing in the ocean could challenge it. It wasn't defeated by a single rival. It was outlasted by a changing planet. And in its absence, the modern ocean, the one we know today with orcas, great whites, and blue whales, finally took shape. Picture it one last time. A shadow longer than a school bus, gliding silently beneath the waves, utterly unafraid of anything in its path. For 20 million years, it was the undisputed ruler of the sea. Then the world changed faster than even the ocean's greatest predator could adapt. Its extinction wasn't a mystery solved by a single discovery. It was solved by teeth, bones, bite marks, and decades of patient scientific work. So no, it isn't hiding in the deep today. But for millions of years, it truly was the most fearsome animal the ocean has ever produced. Do you think another ocean giant like it could ever evolve again? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed uncovering the true story of Megalodon, subscribe for more deep dives into the greatest mysteries of prehistoric life. Megalodon, the ocean's vanished giant. The largest predator to ever rule the seas, and one of the greatest stories fossils have ever told. Some researchers have even proposed that Megalodon occasionally scavenged whale carcasses rather than always actively hunting. An efficient way to conserve energy. Whichever strategy it used, one thing is certain: an animal this size left an outsized mark on every ecosystem it touched. And that's ultimately what makes its extinction so scientifically important. Apex predators this dominant rarely disappear without reshaping everything around them.